So good day everyone, especially to our the child and adolescent learners and learning principal teacher FTC1, Ms. Joyzel Brukensoyho, and to our classmates. I am Nicole Sala from Section 5 BE Ed 1. So in this video presentation, I will be discussing the two of the most important people in psychology, these people. Now how do we pronounce their names? How do we pronounce his name? So the way to pronounce his name is this. Sigmund Freud. Now this one, Jean Piaget. Wow! So these two men helped shape how we understand the human mind and how people grow, think, and behave. So Sigmund Freud was an Austrian neurologist and the founder of psychoanalysis. He was born on May 6, 1856 in Freiburg, Austria, now in Czech Republic, and died on September 23, 1939 in London, England. Freud studied medicine and became interested how the mind works. He worked with patients who had mental health problems and started exploring how unconscious thoughts affect behavior. He became one of the most famous thinkers in psychology and is considered of the most influential figures in the study of human mind. Freud spent most of his life researching, writing, and teaching in Vienna before moving to London later in life. So, Sigmund Freud believed that our personality is made up of three parts that are always interacting. Namely, first we have the id, the ego, and the superego. You can imagine them like a team inside your head that makes decisions for you, but they all want different things. So we have here first. No, it's not ID, it's id. The I want it now part. Ganan, kung ana palitin ako ana karon dayon. So this is the primitive instinctual part of the mind. So the id is present at birth, meaning babies have only the id at first. It wants immediate pleasure and doesn't care about the rules or consequences. It follows what Freud called the pleasure of principle. If something feels good, the id wants it right now. Like sample, ginala ko ana, palitin ako ana, relax na ko, palitin ako ana. So an example of it, where a baby cries when it's hungry or uncomfortable. It doesn't care if it's 3 a.m. or if you're tired. The baby wants comfort right away. That's the id. So, the id is selfish. It's all about what you want, no matter what's right or wrong. So in Freud's theory, the ego is like the thinking part of your mind. So it listens to what the id wants, but it doesn't act right away. It tries to be smart and realistic. So think of an ego like the manager or the decision maker. So it tells the id, yasultian ang id nga, I know what you want, but let's find a better way to get it without causing any trouble. An example of an ego, like example sa ego in relationship, situation kay, you get jealous because your partner is chatting with someone else. The id says, yell at them, yell at them, block that person, get angry. It wants an instant reaction based on the feelings and desire. Then the ego says, okay, I feel jealous. But instead nga makakos kog drama, sultihan ako akong partner nga kalmado o kung sa akong gibati. So, instead of exploding or reacting badly, like maglagot ka, gananin mo sumbago ni mong partner kay kanang selos na lagi ka, the ego finds peaceful and logical way to handle the situation. Diba? Nice king ego, guys. So, the id is emotional and wants pleasure or action now. So ang id mo to siya, if magselos ka, ganahan mo siya sugmagon, kulatahon, tunggabon, mo na siya ang id. But ang ego, mga kaingon ng ego, let's slow it down and do it the right way. So kanang ego, nice na siya magkauno na jud kag tarong. So the id and the ego, they are side by side. The ego does not ignore the id, but it just controls it. So we have the third one is the superego. So this is the part of your mind that acts like your inner parent or conscience or the voice in your head that tells what's right or wrong based on the rules and values you learn growing up. So kaning part Kaya ani na to mabutan sa unahon na nga, lo mao man ni gitudlo sa ko mama sayop man ni akong gibuhat. Mao man ni gitudlo sa mong teacher nga ayo nagbuhat ta kay sayop na. Mao man nagingo sa pare katong pagmisa nga kung imo ni buhaton makasa ka. That's super ego. So, it develops around age of 5 as you learn from your parents or guardians, teachers, religion or beliefs, culture or society. The superego wants you to be kind, obedient, be a good person. It doesn't care about what you want, like the id. Kung unsay negative sa id, it doesn't try to balance like the ego. So it just says, this is right, and that's wrong. Now, let's slow it down and do it the right way. So that's an example of superego. So let's get to know about the superego now. Example. An example of this is that you saw your friend drop their wallet and you want to keep it. Diba? But the superego says, no, that's stealing. Return it. It's the right thing to do. We have the example 2. Example 2. You failed a test and think of lying to your parents. But the superego says, no, you should be honest. Don't lie. Lying is bad. Example 3. You helped a friend without expecting anything back. Tabang kasi mga amigo, wala ka gano'n nga ulian ka niya. Then your superego says, good job, you did the right thing. So basically, superego versus id with ego in the middle. So imagine this. The id says, I want you to do what feels good. But your superego says, no, that's wrong. Be good. And the ego says, I'll find a smart and balanced way. So the superego is like your inner judge. It tells you to be good, follow the rules, and do what's morally right, even when it's difficult. Too much superego, you will feel guilty or pressured to always be perfect. Too little superego, you may act selfishly or break the rules. Sigmund Freud also said that we pass through psychosexual stages in childhood. First is the oral stage, around 0 to 1 year old. Babies explore the world using their mouth, like sucking and biting. Like, they might grow up talking too much or depending too much on others. The second one, we have the anal stage, around 1 to 3 years old. This is the time for toilet training. Kids learn control, holding or letting go. They might become too neat or clean, and controlling or too messy and careless. The third one, we have the phallic stage, around 3 to 6 years old. Kids start noticing the difference between boys and girls. They also start learning about gender roles, what boys and girls usually do. The fourth one is the latency stage, around 6 to 12 years old, a quiet time. The child focuses more on school, friends, and learning skills, not on the body. The 5, the genital stage, around 12 and up years old. Teenagers starts to feel attracted to others. They begin learning about romantic relationships and forming real connections. So Freud's theories help people understand unconscious thoughts, things that we are not aware of but affect our behavior. Even today, his ideas influence how therapy and mental health are practiced. So Freud's methods help people understand their inner struggles even if they could not explain them. He helped normalize talking about feelings, trauma, and dreams. Now, moving on to Jean Piaget. Now, Jean Piaget was born on August 9, 1896 in Switzerland, and he died in 1980. He was a famous psychologist who studied how children grow, think, and learn. Piaget became well known for his work in child development, especially how kids' thinking changes as they get older. He believed that children go through different stages of learning and they learn best by exploring and interacting with the world around them. His work helped teachers and parents understand how children think at different ages. So, Jean Piaget was curious about how children's brains work. He did not just ask what they know. Instead, he studied how they think. He noticed that children's thinking is not just a smaller version of adults, it's completely different at each age. So, laylay sila kada edad. He believed that children pass through four stages as they grow. The first one, we have the sensory motor around 0 to 2 years old. Babies learn through their senses: touch, sight, sound, taste, and smell, and actions like grabbing or shaking. They don't think using words yet, they understand the world by moving and exploring. Example, a baby shakes a toy to hear a sound or puts things into their mouth and learn about them. Muna itong mabantayan kasagaran sa mga bata nga permi sila magkuha mga butang, ilang uyugon, kay mag-curious lagi sila na sila kuha nga butang, din ilang ilabay, din ano na sila makabaw, uy, mabuka pandeni. Second one, we have the pre-operational stage, around 2 to 7 years old. Kids begin to use words, pictures, and imagination, but their thinking is still not logical. They often believe that what they see and may think the world revolves around them. This is called egocentrism. Example ani kay a children believes that the moon is following them or that a doll has a feelings. Number 3, we have the concrete operational stage around 7 to 11 years old. Children now start to think more logically, but more only on real things they can see or touch. They begin to understand concepts like conservation, like that something stays the same even if it looks different. Example, a child knows that water in a tall glass is the same amount as a short glass even though it looks different. Number 4, we have the formal operational stage, 12 and up. Teenagers can now think about the abstract ideas, solve complex problems, and plan for the future. They can imagine what-if situations and think like adults. Example, a teen can understand topics just like justice, love, or why people lie even without seeing it happen. So Sigmund Freud believed that our mind has 3 levels. The first one, we have the conscious. The second one, subconscious, or what we call the preconscious. And the third one is unconscious. He said that not everything we think or feel is available to us. Most of it is actually hidden deep inside. First, we have the conscious mind. So this is the smallest part of our mind. It is what we are aware right now. Like the words that I'm saying, what we see, and what we think at the moment. Example, you're watching this video and thinking, I need to pass this subject. Like, wala na pam din nga project sa ako pa ding himuon para makapasar ko ani nga subject nga napaday ipas ika July 14 katong suwat-suwat sa FTC. That's one example of conscious. So that thought is in your conscious mind. The second one we have is the subconscious, or what we call the preconscious mind. So this part is just below the surface. It's not in your active thinking, but you can remember if it asked. Example, if I ask, what's your childhood best friend's name? Like, you don't think about it all the time, but you can remember if needed. Or gipangutan na ka, like makasadon din, makahimdom ka sa pangan. Things like memories, phone numbers, or your old addresses are in your subconscious mind. The third one is we have the unconscious mind. This is the deepest and biggest part of our mind. Sigmund Freud said, we are not aware of it, but it has a strong effect on our thoughts, feelings, and actions. Example, you might feel nervous around someone and you don't know why. It could be because of something that happened in your past and now it is hidden in your unconscious. So Jean Piaget also said that children build schemas, mental ideas, or categories. But what is a schema? A schema is like a mental folder in your brain. It helps you organize what you know. When you learn something new, you store it inside a schema. Schemas make it easier to understand things quickly. An example, a child sees a dog and learns dogs bark, they have fur, and they have 4 legs. That becomes their schema for dog. So when they see another dog, they recognize it using that idea. More examples, schema for school. Schema for school, we have the classroom, teacher, classmates. Assimilation is when you use what you already know to understand something new. If it looks or feels similar, you just add it to your existing idea. So it's like putting something new into an old folder, even if dili siya mo fit jud. Example, a child sees a zebra and says, "That's a horse." Because it looks like a horse, the child uses their horse schema. That's assimilation. We have the third one, accommodation. This is changing or creating a new schema. Accommodation is when you realize the new thing doesn't fit. So you change your idea or make a new one. Explanation. It's like creating a new folder or fixing the old one to be more correct. Example. The child learns zebras have stripes and are not horses. So they make a new schema for zebra. That's accommodation. Another example. Thinks whales are fish. Like a kid thinks whales are fish. Learns that they are mammals. That changes the idea. To the fourth one, the equilibration. Balancing everything. Equilibration is when the brain finds balance between assimilation and accommodation. It means that your understanding becomes clear after learning and adjusting. Example, so you were confused at first, but after learning the truth, your mind feels right again. Example, let's go back to the child that sees a zebra. Example, a child sees a zebra, thinks it is horse, so that's an assimilation. Learns, pagkabaw niya nga lahi dito siya, creates zebra, it creates a zebra schema. That's accommodation. Now, now the kid fully understands both. The brain is balanced. So that's called an equilibration. Another example is struggles with the math topic. So he studies and understands and he feels confident. And another one, thinks only girls cry. And the kid sees boys cry, changes the view and understands emotions better. And that concludes my video demonstration about Sigmund Freud and Jean Piaget. We learned that Freud focused on the unconscious mind, emotions, and how inner conflict shapes our behavior through the id, ego, and superego. Meanwhile, Piaget helped us understand how children's thinking develop through different stages as they grow. These two psychologists may have different views, but both gave us a better understanding of human behavior and development. Their contributions are still used today, especially in education and mental health. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope you learned something valuable today. Now, before I go, I want you to leave you with this. Do you think your decisions are influenced more by your emotions or your thinking? That is something Freud and PJ would love to hear your thoughts on. Once again, I am Nicole Sala, and this has been my video demonstration. Have a great day. Peace.